Welcome to Gnarly Metal After Hours, a live rock and talk show featuring conversations with announcers, musicians, and fans about radio, rock, and records of the 80s. Gnarly Metal After Hours is an extension of my Friday night music show, Gnarly Metal, which is 2 hours of hard rock and heavy metal hits from the 80s. I'm Kelly Thomas, and in studio today are members of the Colorado band Cryptic Writings' Authentic Megadeth Experience. And since this is my first time meeting all of you, I am going to have us start off by each of you introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about your musical background and experience, and how you guys kind of came together as a band. And then you have one band member who is not able to join us today, Nick Cash. So if you would fill us in about him and his background and what his role is in your band. So let's go ahead. Stefan, you're right here on my left, so I'll have you go ahead and start.
Awesome, yes. My name is Stefan Segura. I've been drumming for about 20 years, started in like 2014, learning a lot of Megadeth and Metallica. And yeah, my dad was a musician, so I just kind of learned from him and just been playing metal for a long time. These guys found me. I used to play with one of their old guitarists in a band called Sculptures of Rust, and
that's a really cool band name.
Yeah, it was a fun one. And they were kind of in a tight spot, needed a drummer, opening up for Green Jelly. And they gave me 2 weeks. And they're like, hey, we got this show. We know you know it. Come on, let's play this show. So learned a good hour-long set list in 2 weeks. Fun time. Then been with them for about a little over a year now.
All right. Phoenix, you are next.
Hi, I'm Phoenix Rose, front woman of Cryptic Writings' Authentic Megadeth Experience. I've been playing guitar since I was 10 years old. I mean, I'm 33 now, so I've been playing guitar for quite a while. I asked my parents for a guitar for Christmas, and that's what I ended up with, and I wouldn't set it down after I got it, and now I have more guitars than fingers and toes. But yeah, the idea of Cryptic Writing started it was actually 2015 when I posted the ad, and our first show was in 2016 at Sunshine Studios in Colorado Springs. And after that, it just grew, and we ended up with some lineup changes. Just, it wasn't that fact that they weren't the right people. It was just the fact that everybody has a life too, and people have to go their own ways sometimes. So we ended up with the lineup we have now. So Jimmy Rod, Stefan Segura, Nick Cash, and me.
Let's take a moment and talk about Nick, who is not with us today. What's his role in the band?
So he's our new lead guitar player. He's been with us now since, I believe, November is when he started with us. He auditioned actually on my birthday. We did it was kind of just like a pizza, beer, barbecue type thing. And hey, let's jam and see if you're going to be a right fit for us. And his audition, we let him pick the songs. He wanted to audition with Tornado of Souls. And we're like, okay, cool. All the other guitar players we've talked to have been afraid of that song. And then we're like, what do you want to do next? And he picked Holy Wars, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And he picked a handful of songs off the master list, and he was a good fit. So he's been with us now since.
And Jimmy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jimmy Rod, bass guitar. I've been playing bass forever and ever, so it's been a while. So me and Phoenix knew each other from a previous band, and it was an original project, and we kind of disbanded that band. And we said, hey, well, she started a Megadeth tribute. I wasn't the first bass player yet, but that one didn't work out with our bass player, so he couldn't make it to some of the shows because he was so busy with work. But she asked me if I wanted to do that, and yeah, I love playing bass, especially with David Allison's stuff, man. It's just so incredible. But basically, that's about it on that,
And he looks the part.
I hope I do. Hope I play the part.
Yeah, well, thank you all very much. In 1997, Megadeth released an album that peaked at number 10 on the Billboard 200. It was later certified gold in the U.S. I'm going out on a limb here, but I assume the name of the band came from the Cryptic Writings album. And if this is so, why that particular album?
When I was thinking about names for the band, it was actually going to be called She-Wolf. I had wanted to make a all-female tribute. But the ad never really took off on that one, and I still wanted to do a tribute anyway, and still posted the ad, but I'm the only female in the band. And I was like, well, maybe I'll look it up and see. I don't want to call it Rust in Peace, because that's one of the biggest albums they have. And if someone else does a tribute, it's probably going to be Rust in Peace. So I was like, well, what's one of my other favorite albums? And it was Cryptic Writings. And I had no idea who to talk to about it. I wanted to ask permission. And a couple emails later, and I ended up with a VIP badge to come ask for myself.
Nice.
So, and it was really cool. I got to ask, and Dave was kind of like, well, what song are you going to call it after? And I was like, well, the reason I'm asking is I want to call it after my favorite album, Cryptic Writings. He goes, you know what? No one's done that yet. Go for it. And it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, so you kind of have their nod of approval for being a tribute band, and I assume being the only female-fronted Megadeth tribute band.
We've been the only female-fronted Megadeth tribute that I've seen. I still do a lot of research online just to see if that's true or not, and as of right now, yes, we are the only female-fronted Megadeth tribute.
Well, you guys are a Colorado band, but you all live in different places. How do you guys come together as a band to practice? Do you have a specific studio or location that you practice in, or do you kind of rotate and move from one place to the other and take turns in different places?
We kind of rotate it. Stefan has a music school down in Raton, so we would go down there and rehearse because at the time, both Stefan and our guitar player lived in Raton. Now with our new guitarist, Nick, he lives up in Denver. And so right now we're kind of meeting in the middle. So we're meeting in Pueblo and rehearsing at Jimmy and my house. Really, January, February is the only time we actually get rehearsal. The rest of it, the year is so jam-packed that we don't get to rehearse again until January, February.
Wow, that's a great problem to have.
Yeah. I will say it does take a lot of trust with the band. We trust each other to learn the songs. Being a tribute band, they're already there. You just learn them how it is on the album, the version we're going to be performing. And last year when I was playing with them and jumped in, I think throughout the whole year we had maybe 6 practices, 7 practices.
Maybe,
like it really wasn't much. And a lot of times we kind of use the smaller shows as a rehearsal, throw out a new song, see how that goes, see if we need to polish some things up or take it off the list. Like, oh, we weren't ready for that. Work on it for a few more weeks or month or so and then bring it back.
It takes dedication too, the dedication to learn the songs as close as possible. And there are some rough parts, but I think we're all good enough musicians where we can pick them up pretty good.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. So those of you who are Megadeth fans probably are aware that Megadeth's music, in my opinion, is pretty complex. Are there any songs that you choose not to do because they're too challenging, or do you guys feel completely confident in all of your musicianship abilities that you just kind of jump right in and take on the challenge and play any or all of them?
Honestly, we find some of the most complex songs, and those are the songs we want to do.
Yeah.
Because
They're fun
a
to
lot
play.
of other bands that do covers don't want to do those songs because they are so hard.
I'll say like one of their most complex just because they finally went into an odd meter was 5 Magics. And me being the drummer, I always have to count for these guys and tell them that's not the count. This is. But no, we're pretty well seasoned musicians and I don't think anything's out of our grasp. Some takes us longer than others, but Megadeth likes to do a lot of weird things. And especially like in the easy songs, there's still a weird transition that will take us a while to tighten up and get together.
Another thing a lot of people don't know is they use a lot of palm muting and open notes.
Okay, so to bring that down to first grade level for those of us who are not completely familiar with those musical terms, what does that mean?
So an open note would be you're not fretting anything, you're just
strings.
open strings. And then palm muting is when you put your palm against the strings to almost muffle it like a chug. If you don't understand the technique that they use on that, it's harder to play for someone who's not familiar with it.
If you don't do that.
And Dave invented his own technique of what spider chords. Spider chords.
Okay,
And
so what are spider chords?
So you're holding one chord with your first and third finger,
Okay.
and then you'll pluck that chord, and then you're going to drop your second and fourth finger and make a completely different chord
And alternate.
alternate them.
And how long has he been using his own chord in his music? Is this something that happened in the early 80s when he first formed the band, or did he kind of grow
I think
into
one
it?
of the earliest ones that you could hear is actually on Wake Up Dead off of the Peace Cells album. And then he used it again in So Far, So Good, So What on Set the World Afire. There's a piece in there he does that as well. It's funny, I was already into Megadeth back in high school and all that, My first job that I had was at a packing factory, and I crushed my hand with a 80-pound box of mouthwash.
Ooh.
And I was told the same thing that they told Dave, if you're not going to play anymore. And so I got even more into him. I was like, if he could do it, I can too. And he's been a huge inspiration to me to continue playing.
Well, I think I can speak for all of us when I say we're very glad you have. And we're very glad he has too,
Yes.
overcoming a challenge like that. Just shows some grit and determination. Megadeth has been around as a band, I think, for somewhat like 40 years. How do you choose which songs will go on your set list?
So when we first started out is basically grab a greatest hits album, everybody listen to it, these are the songs we're doing. And then after that, well, now the greatest hits stuff is out of the way and we're able to pick some of our favorites now. So what I do is, it's called a pick 10, and this is how we pick our songs. I tell everybody, don't send it to me on the group, send it to me separate. We're going to all pick 10 songs. Doubles are going to end up on the list, and then you can go back through your list and pick one of your favorites out of that.
So you don't stick with the same set list. You add different songs, take some out, put some in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
we try to mix it up every now and again as much as we can.
We still have to cater to the greatest hits people that have never seen Megadeth, have never seen us. And they're like, oh, I heard that song on the radio. I know that song. After that, we're able to, change it up and be like, okay, well, you heard this song last time. And, especially some venues, you only get a 30-minute set. How do you fit all these great songs into 30 minutes so you get a couple greatest hits and a deep cut?
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a necessity or a need at any time to do what we in the radio industry call a radio edit, to do something that's a little bit shorter than the way the track might appear on the album?
We've only done that, I think, a couple times, and that was in LA when we played at the Whiskey A Go-Go. And again, we only had a 30-minute set, and we're like, man, the songs we chose, along with ending with Peace Cells, ended up being a little too long. So we're like, well, let's watch some of the live stuff before they used click tracks.
Yeah.
And let's learn that version and play it faster.
I will say, too, we do have a medley of like 3 top hit songs that kind of does trim some of the fat off of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, because some of them intros are long. They're just real mellow and long to introduce the song. So we kind of cut that off. And she came up with that idea and put the 3 songs together. And it's so awesome. You guys got to hear that. It came out just
And if you want to check that version out, we'll actually be performing that February 22nd at Sunshine Studios for our round 2 for Battle for Bratfest.
Let's take a minute and talk about that. How did you get to be involved in the Battle for Bratfest? Is that something you're invited to?
So what the venue does is every time you play there, they take down your contact info. And then when they have an event like this, they email it to everybody. And you take your EPK, which is an electronic press kit, email it in with videos, photos, your accomplishments of where you have played, where you'd like to play, all that. And where do you want to get to? And you send that in. If you're selected, you get an email back. You're selected, come pick up tickets. We come pick up our tickets. We sell them out. They're this particular show is $5 a ticket, and your ballot is your ticket. So if you buy a ticket, please come and toss it in the fishbowl there for your vote. How they did this one, there was so many bands that applied for it, they broke it up into 3 different first rounds. And we were kind of surprised, actually, that we got on to the second round. There was a lot of really good competition in Colorado Springs for the local bands that night. And we heard our name pop up and we're like, wow, very cool. So we were just kind of moving on from there. And if we do win round 2, then we have a chance to go play in Madison, Wisconsin for Bratfest. It would be in May, I believe. And we would get to play in front of 150,000 people and open for Ace Frehley and Steve Adler of Guns N' Roses.
That's excellent. So I'm just going to ask, I know all of you are seasoned musicians. 150,000 people sounds like a big crowd to me. Have any of you played in front of a crowd that size before?
My largest crowd has been 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000.
Yeah, roughly that much in that area, but nothing probably bigger than that.
Yeah.
Maybe if you combine all of our crowds over the years.
Right. All together.
They're just all going to be in one spot.
Before we take a quick break, I want to talk a little bit about concerts. Probably like most of us listening, I started going to concerts. I think my first concert, I was 15 years old, and I was hooked the moment I was there. So it is a passion of mine. It's something that I still love to do. I'm a little challenged at the pricey nature of some concert tickets these days. It doesn't seem to be quite as affordable as it was when I was younger.
It's not.
Exactly.
But that being said, have all of you seen Megadeth in concert. I've seen them in concert 3 times, and I'm thinking that probably pales in comparison to any of you.
I've seen them, 4 or 5 times now?
I believe so. Well, I've seen him 13.
Yeah, she's the winner of this one.
Lucky number 13.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I actually just saw them for the first time this last year, and Phoenix and Jimmy took me. It was a great time.
Well, and that's one of the things that I've felt like, at least in my opinion, when I've seen Megadeth, first of all, they seem to make a point to kind of target some smaller venues in addition to much larger venues. But I felt like their shows were consistently good. I saw them at the City Auditorium in downtown Colorado Springs, but I feel like the energy of their show was just the same as when I saw them up in Denver at a much bigger venue. Have you guys had that experience as well?
Yeah, and then we kind of base even our performance off of what they do. Of it don't matter if there's 2 people there, 200 people, or 2,000. You should give them the same performance because those 2 people are going to go back and tell their friends.
Yeah, exactly. You are listening to Gnarly Metal After Hours. My guest today, Cryptic Writings, Authentic Megadeth Experience, joining me in studio. I'm grateful and glad to have them here with me. We're going to get into some music and start things off with a very well-known tune from the album of the same name. What's going on there, metalheads? You are listening to Gnarly Metal After Hours. I'm Kelly Thomas, and I have the great pleasure of being joined in the studios today with my friends Cryptic Writings, Authentic Megadeth Experience from Colorado. We are having a great time hanging out, and hopefully you are having a great time listening to us. Before the break, we started talking a little bit about your concert schedule. So before we go much further, why don't you guys take a few minutes and tell people where they can check you out, including your social media, website links, and stuff like that, and then where you're going to be performing. We know February 22nd will be at Sunshine Studios, but where else are you traveling to?
So yeah, you could check out all of our dates on our Facebook page. Just look up Cryptic Writings, Authentic Megadeth Experience. You could see us on Instagram as well for, I believe it's just Cryptic Writings Megadeth Tribute. We do have a TikTok page. I don't remember what that one's called. I think it's Cryptic Writings Band on there. It has a green logo on there, so if you find it and it's a green radioactive symbol with our logo on it, then that's most likely it. We also have a website that you can look up. It's Cryptic Writings Authentic Megadeth Experience.com, and we do post all of our dates on there, our EPKs on there. If for any bands looking to build one that needs some advice or anything like that, get on there and check it out. I mean, it's helped us out, so it might help you as well. You can find photos, videos, everything on there as well.
Excellent. Let's take a moment and talk about experiences working with any well-known musicians. So it sounds like you have had the pleasure of meeting Dave on more than one occasion, and you also said David as well. Are those the only 2 members of Megadeth? I know they've kind of changed lineups over the years, but they are the only 2 members whom you've had the pleasure of meeting, or have you met any other members of Megadeth?
The other one has been Marty Friedman, actually, on Monday.
Right, yes.
And so
yeah, tell us about that.
I'll jump around a little bit here, but yeah, the one with Marty Friedman was very, very cool. Towards the end of his set, he goes, well, I want to bring somebody up on stage with me to just jam a couple minutes or so. You know, I raised my hand, didn't think I'd get picked, and next thing you know, half the venue is yelling, Phoenix, pick the redhead in the front, grab her. And he goes, they all want you, so get up here. And got up there. His tech ran out with one of his signature model guitars, which I'd never got to play before, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
Then I was like, well, oh no, I don't know these songs. So I was like, well, let's just see what key he's in. And I did a couple bends, figured it out. And next thing you know, he's like, no, keep going, keep going. So I did a couple runs, figured out what key it was. And then next thing you know, the whole band joined in and we all turned and faced the crowd at the same time. We were playing the same part in 3 different parts. So one was higher in the neck, one was in the middle, and one was higher up. And yeah, it was a very magical moment.
Yeah. And so you said the video of this is on your Facebook page?
Yes, it's currently on our Facebook page.
So people can check that out. All right. I would like to ask a question that I ask of most of the musicians I interview, and that is most, not all, play more than one musical instrument. Do any of you play more than one musical instrument?
Stefan does.
Yeah, I do. I actually went to college at New Mexico State University for music, percussion. So being a percussionist, you learn everything: marimba, timpani, snare, marching band, concert band. And then just growing up in a musical house, I've learned guitar, bass, vocals, piano. And then that all culminated finally to me starting my own music school in my hometown.
Tell us about that. Tell us how people can find you if they are
Sure.
in your hometown.
Sure. It's Segura School of Music. We teach everything from guitar, drums, bass, piano, vocals, stage kind of music, all genres, rock, country, Spanish. We've even had some gospel students and doing kind of worship music stuff. And eventually we want to get into like online education and YouTube stuff and things like that.
I think that's fantastic.
Mhm.
And it kind of follows up on a conversation we were having off air about the magic of music. There's just something, especially rock too. I think rock just really has a way of touching people's lives. I mean that in a positive sense, but there's just really something about it that draws people in. And I'm expecting that through your line of work. In addition, when you guys all play live, you kind of maybe pick up on the energy of the crowd or the
Definitely.
energy of the person you're working with one-on-one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've even had some students show up to our last show, which was pretty cool.
Well, and see, and that inspires them. That
Mhm.
that gives them something to look at and say, "Oh, he can do it. I can do it. I'm on the path to getting there."
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a wonderful thing because we got a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now, and I think it's nice to take a break from that and listen to the music. It's a good thing to do. So, of the three of you, I'm going to start with you, Jimmy. What is your favorite song to perform live?
Actually, I got a couple of them. I like Tornado of Souls. I like Hangar 18. Lucretia. Just so much good transitions, the song, a lot of changes. It makes you work, gets the fingers going and makes your good exercises for your fingers and stuff. Holy Wars is another one.
At this point, just say the whole Rest in Peace album.
Yeah, the whole Rest in Peace album. That's my favorite album. I mean, they go on forever, and the way they recorded the bass was real prominent. You could hear it's not in the background like a lot of the recording artists now. The bass is there,
Especially in
but
thrash.
you can't really hear it. But the bass is so prominent, kind of like Iron Maiden. Steve Harris's and Yes, Chris Squire. The bass is kind of up there. The whole thing would be Rest in Peace album. So.
Phoenix, what about you?
See, some of my favorites would definitely be like She-Wolf, especially that dual harmony solo at the end. The crowd loves it, we love it, and we've had it several times where the crowd's singing the solo back to you as you're playing it. Another big one that I really like doing is we do a medley, which consists of Trust, Reckoning Day. We go back and finish Trust and then go into In My Darkest Hour. Yeah, that one, it gets everybody moving, and it's, again, feeding off the energy of the crowd as well. And those are probably my favorites.
Stefan, how about you?
Definitely any sing-along song, anytime the crowd can sing to you louder than you is great. Countdown to Extinction is my favorite album as well as one of my favorite songs by them. The end of She-Wolf, whenever I nail it, that drum fill is just a lot of fun. And some newer ones have grown on me, like Washington Is Next and We'll Be Back. There's just a lot of changes and a lot of cool stuff in those songs. And I kind of stopped listening to Megadeth after Countdown, and getting into this band got me into those later albums a lot more.
Yeah, see, I'm with you on that.
Mhm.
Being a child of the 80s, I kind of listened to a lot of stuff in the 80s. And then, late 90s, it's not that I dislike them. I
Right.
just hadn't
And
listened to them
know
as frequently.
some of the later songs, but I never fully delved into the albums like I did with Countdown.
Well, most of the people that I interview have a preference about the type of music that they listen to. Obviously, for me, it's hard rock and heavy metal, but there are other genres of music that they like as well. So this time I'm going to start with you, Stefan. Other than thrash metal, what other genres of music do you enjoy listening to?
Sure, I can give you some guilty pleasure stuff too. Baby metal, big baby metal fan. Ginger and like more modern metal. And then like some alt rock and prog like Bear vs. Shark, Paramore. Been into the new Linkin Park lately, and it's got me to listen to the old Linkin Park a lot more lately. Yeah, just anything alt rock, Pretty Reckless of them. They got some bluesy stuff and classic rock vibes to them.
And speaking of blues, Jimmy, when we were off the air, you were mentioning that you liked blues. Is that really the only other genre of music other than thrash metal that you like? Or do you have a couple of other genres that interest you as well?
Yeah, I like the blues a lot, and I like jazz fusion, kind of like Stanley Clarke. Well, Jaco Pastorius, that kind of stuff. But basically, yeah, just blues and jazz fusion, stuff like that.
Phoenix, how about you?
For me, we moved around a lot as a kid, so my best friend was always the radio. We were always listening to classic rock stations, and like Great White, they're a big one of mine. Firehouse, Journey, AC/DC, and then sometimes I just get on I want a little bit different kick, and it's going to be a full night of Michael Jackson.
There you go. Yeah, I was just going to say, for
Yeah.
me, you can easily find Duran Duran in my collection right next to my Megadeth. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to turn the interview around this time to a point in the interview that I like to just do for fun. So a couple of questions here. The first question kind of takes us back in time a little bit. For those of you who are not residents of Colorado, you may or may not know this, but at one particular point in time in Colorado, we were not supposed to take pot into concert halls. Now, really didn't matter to most of us because the minute the lights went down, you could smell it.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm wondering, as a band, do you ever feel the effects of what your audience is smoking while you're playing?
I think there's only been one time for me on that one. And that one was a festival up north that we were playing. And I was like, wow, it's very green outside.
I don't think I have, though, honestly. So I'd probably say no.
I will say every time. And here's why. Because, I used to be a stoner, but not anymore. And to me, performing, I get such an adrenaline, such a high off of it that I can kind of slip into that sort of state of mind. And I'm just like feeling it and enjoying it and being in that moment. So it kind of gives the sense of having a
natural high.
And, right.
Natural
plain
contact high.
Yeah, plain high.
That one's a little bit different, Stefan.
If you've been there, you can put yourself back there. Trust me.
I've been there many a time before, but not in this band.
I am talking with my friends, Cryptic Writing's Authentic Megadeth Experience. This is Gnarly Metal After Hours. We're going to take a quick break and listen to one or two songs, and then we're going to come back and wrap things up. And let's see, who do we have? So after our break, we've got a song from Firehouse, and that one was you, Phoenix. So stay close. We'll be right back. You are listening to Gnarly Metal After Hours on gnarly101.com. We are in Colorado Springs, Colorado. It is straight up 2 o'clock, and I'm in the studio with Cryptic Writing's Authentic Megadeth Experience. I'm going to turn things over to you, Stefan, because on the break, you were telling us a little story about that particular song and the correlation to a Metallica song, which I think some people might be familiar with, but not everybody. So go ahead and share your experience or your take on that.
So if you're not familiar, on the album Kill 'Em All, right, there's a song called The Four Horsemen by Metallica. Huge song. Everyone loves it. When Dave Mustaine created Megadeth, he decided to take that song kind of with him and do it his own way, which is the song you just heard, Mechanics. This last year, we went and saw them live. We're riding the rail like Phoenix loves to do. We're on the rail, jamming out. I make friends with everyone around me. They start playing this song, and me as a joke, and I'm a sarcastic person, I start singing Four Horsemen lyrics kind of quietly to myself. But the girl next to me starts singing them full volume, and Phoenix turns and looks at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Not me. Her. I was just joking." And we're within touching distance of Timo, and it's like, "Please, Dave, don't come over here and hear us singing."
Did Timo hear you guys do that?
I'm not sure. Hope not.
I think he did.
I think he kind of looked at us kind of funny at everybody, like,
yeah.
Because eventually it threw everybody off, and the whole group was sitting there singing the wrong song.
I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm a jerk. They're both great songs. I love them both.
Well, we're going to return to the fun aspect of this show, or the not so serious aspect of this show. And this is a segment that I've done with many guests who have come through here. And I call it misheard lyrics. And they can be lyrics that you yourself have misheard or that someone else has misheard. The example I give is, "Excuse me while I kiss this guy." And when I was in college,
Hendrix.
I know. And see, that was my response too, Jimmy. I was like, really?
I know. I love Hendrix.
Jimmy, why don't we talk with you, or start with you rather? Anything misheard lyrics of yourself or somebody else?
I don't hear lyrics very well anyway. That's about it on that one.
Yeah. Phoenix, how about you?
I don't know. I'm big into I listen to the song and read the booklet with it. So I haven't really had a whole lot that's been kind of misheard on that one. No, that's your story, Stefan.
I have multiple.
Well, then we'll hand it over to Stefan on his.
Yeah.
I'm a drummer, so I do not always hear the lyrics correctly. And I used to have a roommate where it was a game to try to butcher the lyrics as hard as possible. But Megadeth one, I used to always think it said, just like Pipe Piper, lab rats through the streets. Not lead rats through the
Lab
streets.
rats.
Linkin Park, these wounds they will not Eeyore. I was like, why are they singing about Eeyore? But the way he says heal is definitely not how you say heal.
Right. Right. Just kind of a different emphasis on it. Yeah. All right. This next segment is called Either or. And we're going to start with you, Jimmy. Beer or whiskey or something else?
Tuaca.
Okay.
I love beer too, so I'm guilty of both pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been drinking Di Serono lately. Oh, and that's so awesome with a little bit of Red Bull in it too.
Oh.
That's my favorite, but it's too expensive at the bars, so I don't do that at home. But yeah, that'll be it.
Phoenix, how about you?
Mine will be the Cabo Wabo Sammy Hagar tequila.
Yeah, and I've always wondered about that. I've never had it, but it seems like it's real trendy now for either actors or musicians to have their own line of spirit or beer.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying this is...
That's my top number one favorite. We toured out in LA and they actually had a Cabo Wabo bar.
Wow.
So we got to try all the flavors. Didn't make it down the elevator very good, or escalator, but
Kind of wobbly.
It was pretty tasty.
It was wobbly good.
It was wobbly good.
Stefan, how about you?
My show drink is Jaeger Red Bulls. I don't bomb them, but I do a double Jaeger Red Bull. And it just kind of helps keep me awake, energetic, you know. If money wasn't a thing and, you know, I could drink whatever, it'd be a whiskey mule with Jameson.
There you go.
Actually, I have a
That's
funny
really
story
good.
about Jameson.
Yeah, tell us.
So when we played in our original band, we got to play with Jakey Lee.
Nice.
And that was at Sunshine Studios. And we didn't know that we were going to be on the second night with him in Denver as well. And this is before they remodeled. So the bar was still when you walked in. One of the bartenders was like, "What's this guy doing back here?" He just stands there and goes, "What the hell's up with Colorado?" We're like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "No one here carries Jameson."
Oh.
And pours himself a drink and leaves. They're like, "Sir, you got to pay for that." I'm like, "That's Jakey Lee. Like, he's okay." He's like, I'll buy it. That's fine. So we played the show, and he goes, "You guys playing with us tomorrow?" We're like, "I don't think so." Well, he gets on the phone, makes a phone call, and "Yes, you are now."
Because he liked her tone, her guitar tone.
Yeah. So we played the second night with him, and I'm wheeling my amp off the stage. He goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Getting off the stage so you guys could get set up." He goes, "No, leave it up there. I like your tone. I want to use it." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I was trying to not fangirl at that point because I was like, one of my idols loves my guitar tone and wants to use it. So I'm like, okay, I'll help the rest of the band carry our stuff back to the van. And he comes over and kind of touches my arm and goes, "Hey, you're Irish, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah, Scott's Irish." He goes, "Come to the van. I got something to show you." He pulls out this little shaving kit, unzips it, and this little shooter's a Jameson. And he goes, "You're going to have a shot with me." It's like, okay.
Okay.
So
yes, I am.
the first shot of Jameson I had was with Jakey Lee.
That's an incredible story.
On
Yeah.
video. That'd been awesome.
My brothers, both of my brothers live in Las Vegas, and my older of my two brothers has been a fan of Jakey Lee for ages. And the two of them had gone out one night just for drinks, and they happened upon Jakey Lee in a bar in Las Vegas. And so went over and introduced himself, and they said he was one of the coolest guys that they have ever
He
met.
is.
He was
He's
just
so
very
very
down to
humble.
earth. Yeah, exactly. And it was a great experience. All right, my friends, any closing thoughts or statements before we wrap up today?
Support live music.
Yes.
Support your favorite musician. Give them props. Go to the website. Buy their merch because we all got to get to the next town somehow. But,
Help us get to Bratfest if you can. If you're in the area, come check us out. Come say hi. Have a drink.
And going back on what Jimmy said too about buying merch, remember buying a CD is worth more to the artist than streaming.
So talk a little bit about that for a moment, if you would, please, because I think that's a real important point.
The artist makes, a $20 CD. They're probably going to make $5 to $10 on it. And again, they're usually still paying off the studio they recorded at. And a stream, 5,000 streams is only, $2? And versus
Depending
you
on
just
the
bought a
stream.
whole album for $20 and you supported that band way more than streaming.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, Phoenix. One of the conversations I have had with previous musicians and for Gnarly Metal After Hours is the idea about how people listen to music. And it's very different. When you look back over the history of even vinyl, I mean, when I was a kid, my mom and dad had a collection of 45s, but it was one song on one side, one song on the other side. And then I feel like my generation came along and we just embraced the idea of album-oriented rock. So we, on Gnarly Metal and on gnarly101.com, we don't just play the big songs, but we also play different tracks from the album because most people listen to the album from the beginning to the end. And I feel like today we're kind of back at that 45s point where people are listening to maybe one song by an artist on Spotify instead of
Yeah. You don't hear the whole album because there could be more
Right.
than one song that's great on it, but you don't hear it.
And that's how you
so-
find those little gems. It might be just a guitar riff you like, a vocal part you like, a drum part you like, and you would have never heard it if you didn't buy the whole album and listen to it. I still, to this day, if I'm looking for one song, I buy the whole album because I know it's supporting that artist, whether it be a national artist, a semi-national, a band just starting out. If I like one song, I'm buying your album because I want to hear the rest of it.
And I'll add to that. It doesn't mean stop streaming. Still stream. It's just if you love a band or love a thing, you're listening to a song over and over or whatever, buy the album too. You know, spend that $12, $20, whatever it is, or buy the album at their show and just still stream the crap out of it. You know?
Well, and another way of supporting bands, back in my party days, I was friends with a band and they used to do a segment that they would call Drink with the Band. And so they would do, during their performance, they would say, okay, it's time for Drink with the Band. And then the idea was that there would be people in the bar who would buy the band members drinks to even help support them that way or to show their appreciation.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's multiple ways of supporting band, but I can see where purchasing their music would certainly be, I would assume, the number one thing that you want to do in addition to purchasing concert tickets and checking you guys out in
Absolutely.
concert.
And then
Oh,
with the
sure.
merch, what we do is, you know, we've all pitched into a pot. We make our shirts and I print them all in-house now. And that helps a lot with the cost. But again, that $20 shirt or $25 shirt, that's going back into making more of those same shirts plus a new design. So that way we could keep everything new and fresh because eventually you're all going to have the same shirt. So you want another design. And then it just goes on and on from there. So that way we could keep designing new shirts for everybody as well.
Before we leave, I'd like you to once again let people know how they can support you, social media, website, and where you'll be performing.
So we have February 22nd for round 2 Battle for Bratfest, $5 tickets. You could contact any of us on social media for Cryptic Writings Authentic Megadeth Experience on Facebook, Instagram at Cryptic Writings Megadeth Tribute, and our TikTok page, which I did look up. I was right on that one. It is Cryptic Writings Band. There's also our website. If you go to Contact Us on the tab, you can send me an email. It goes straight to me, and I could get back to you.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys again for hanging out in the studio with me today. This has been a real pleasure and a hell of a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having
you.
us.
Very welcome. You've been listening to Gnarly Metal After Hours. It's a live monthly rock and talk show that features conversations with radio announcers, musicians, and fans about radio, rock, and records from the 80s. A replay of this show will be posted to our YouTube channel. You can find it at Gnarly Metal After Hours. You can also catch the replay links on Gnarly Metal social media pages on Facebook and Instagram at Gnarly Metal. I'm Kelly Thomas, and until next time, have a great weekend. Peace. Keep it right here on gnarly101.com for the very best of the 80s.